Yeah, Boilermaker brats. What are those? Well, everyone's heard of beer brats. Well, a Boilermaker is generally beer and a shot of whiskey. So today, the beer is gonna be basically beer brats. I'm actually using a spiced ale, a dark ale. And the whiskey is gonna be some whiskey or bourbon mustard, homemade. So let's get our brats going, and these are pork brats. So I have the Weber Kettle Performer set up with the Mallory firewall in there. I've got about a little bit more than a 1/3 direct zone, plus the Mallory cast iron grate. And I have this indirect zone just so I can slide my cast iron pan off of the direct heat if I need to. But let's go ahead and get our cast iron pan heated up. We're gonna be getting some onions in there in a minute, and I'm gonna be using red onions because I really love the flavor of red onions. And then once our red onions are sauteed a little bit, then we're gonna add our beer, get that up to a simmer, then get our brats in. Now, after the brats go for a little while, probably, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes, really just depending on how quickly they cook, we're gonna give them a direct grill so we get some nice grill color on there and that nice little caramelized outside. Let's toss an onion in, see if we're hot enough. Just starting to hear that popping, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my onions in there. And this is one medium red onion that I've just basically sliced up. Do remember, if you're cooking with cast iron like I am here, this isn't always the way people do brats, but I am. Good gloves, man. I've grabbed this pan so many times without wearing gloves. You learn a lesson. I just haven't fully learned it yet, so I have to keep reminding myself, gloves when using cast iron. Now, they do make handle covers for cast iron pans, but I've tried that, and honestly, I don't really like them. I just like the feel of full-on cast iron. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add my beer here, my ale. And if for some reason that starts to simmer off too quickly, I can just add water to bring that liquid back up to the level I want. But now let's go ahead and get our brats in there. These are pork Bratwurst sausages. And like I said, we're gonna let these simmer for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. We'll just check them. I may do a temp check when it gets to the point where I think they're almost ready to grill, but we'll see. We're playing this by ear. And I will rotate this pan a little bit because you can see we do have a little bit hotter zone on the far side. So every few minutes or so, I will rotate that. And like I said, if I need to, I'll add a little bit of plain water. So while our beer brats are simmering before we grill them, let me show you how I made this whiskey mustard, this bourbon mustard. Honestly, I can't remember if I used whiskey or bourbon, but whatever it is, I can tell you it tastes great. So watch this, and when we come back, we'll check our brats, see if they're ready to direct grill. So the whiskey mustard for these Boilermaker brats is a make-ahead thing because it needs several days to really come together and be what it's gonna be. The first stage is getting the mustard seed here, which I have in this glass jar, and this is a 1.5 cups of yellow mustard seed. We're gonna get some liquid in here to begin the process of turning this into mustard. Now, you want to do this in a non-reactive container. Glass is non-reactive. It's my favorite thing to use for stuff like this. Don't use metal. You can use some plastics, but really glass, a glass bowl, glass container, that's what's going to work for you. So to this 1.5 cups of mustard seed, the first thing we're going to add is 1/2 cup of some apple cider vinegar. I'm going to get my funnel here so I don't spill anything. And now for our whiskey, and I'm using a Pendleton whiskey, and we're gonna be adding 1 cup. I'm gonna get down in here and mix this together. Now I'm gonna cover this, but I'm gonna cover it loosely. I'm not gonna put the lid on and tighten it down. It's just gonna rest on top of it. And this is gonna sit out on the counter here for 24 hours. And then tomorrow, we're gonna go into the next step of this, which is blending it with some other ingredients to get a nice, smoother consistency. So I'll see you tomorrow when we blend this up. So our mustard seeds have been soaking in that whiskey and that vinegar overnight. They've absorbed a lot of moisture. You can see right here, there's very little surface moisture left. It's all in the mustard seeds. Let's go ahead and blend these up and add a couple more ingredients. So I have my blender right here. Let's go ahead and make some mustard. To this, I'm gonna add a teaspoon of turmeric, a tablespoon of kosher salt, and a 1/2 cup of honey. Make sure we get all that goodness scraped out of there. Now we're gonna go ahead and process this in here, and if it seems a little too thick, we can add just a little bit of water to thin it out. Really, it's about the consistency that you want. Oh, that's smelling good. I want to go ahead and scrape the sides down. Get all these seeds down in there. And if there are a few seeds that are left, it's more like a rustic mustard, kind of like a stone ground mustard. And that's okay, nothing wrong with that. But I do want to break enough of it down so we do have some sort of creaminess in here. And we keep going. Now what I want to do is get just a little taste and decide if I want to add some water here to thin this out. Let's see. That's really nice. I think I am going to add just a little bit of water here. That was maybe a couple tablespoons. Want to add a pinch more salt here. That salt's just to adjust the flavor from the taste I took before we added the water. And now I want to add just a shake of cayenne, just bring a little bit of heat to this. And you can add as much or as little as you want, or not at all. Let's get a final taste here. See how we're doing. Yeah, I'm liking that. All right, let's get this into a jar because it needs to go in the refrigerator for a couple days, really to come together in flavor. Now, because this is a very thick mustard at this point, I'm gonna use a spoon to get it in the jar here. And when I've made mustard like this before, usually it'll keep for 3 weeks, a month, but I don't make it in big enough batches to last that long. So honestly, the most I can really vouch for it is about 2 weeks because that's about how long it's lasted. This is not like a canned version of mustard where you seal it and preserve it. This is mustard that you're gonna make and use within a short amount of time. Doesn't have preservatives in it. And there we go. I'm gonna get the lid on this. It's gonna go in the refrigerator for a couple days, maybe longer. And then we're gonna use it when we make our Boilermaker Brats. All right, we've been going about 15 minutes here. I let it go 15. Let's give these a temp check, see if we're close to grilling. Ultimate internal temperature I want these sauces just to be is 165 degrees. That's ground pork, safe temperature. If it hits 160, they will rise. So if they're close to 155, 150, we're pretty good to grill. So let me take a quick check of this one here. You can see that. That is showing 166, so we're okay, we're a little bit over. It's gonna be great. Let's go ahead and direct grill these, move these off the heat. And I wanna go ahead and get some of these red onions out of here because I'm gonna use those on our brats today. Great flavor in these. Let's go ahead and get some color on these brats. Give these a turn. We just want a little bit of color on here. All right, that's enough color. Let's get these off, get inside, and build some of these Boilermaker Brats with our homemade whiskey mustard. So I've got a hoagie roll here that's just lightly toasted it because I didn't want it to fall apart. When you cut these in half, if you want to keep them kind of together like a hot dog bun, it's a little precarious. Now here is one of our brats. I've got it in this little white holder here to help keep it standing up. Turn this way. Now before we get our onions and a couple other things on here, here's our mustard. Again, I can't remember if this is whiskey or bourbon mustard. You can tell because you're gonna be watching the portion that I filmed actually 2 weeks ago. This has been in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. So I called it whatever it was then. You'll know. Right now, I don't remember. But let's get some of this mustard on our bratwurst. It's a very thick mustard here, you can see. I think I mentioned in the video when I was making the mustard, if you like it thinner, you can add more liquid, but I really like this sort of rustic mustard like this. Some of our onions here. Also want to hit this with some pickled jalapenos. because why not? And then finally, some hot sauce, because I discovered a really good hot sauce. It's probably my favorite new hot sauce. It's the ultimate hot sauce from Woo's, I guess it is, with the exclamation Woo's. To me, this is like the perfect blend of heat and flavor. It's just sort of a nice medium heat and terrific flavor. I bought this in a 3-pack with the other 2 that are much hotter, but really flavorful. So I just want to get a little bit on here, because why not? There we go. It's brat time. Let's dive in. Here I go. I've always loved brats. Beer brats just take it to the next level, especially when you give it some of that grill time. When you add things like that homemade mustard and these other nice little accoutrements on top here, it turns a simple meal into a little feast. Sometimes I'm not sure what to say at the end of this, so I'm just gonna eat some more.